I took a screenshot and sent it to her. She calls me crying and telling me she wasn't in her mind and that it didn't mean anything. Hey guys, I'm back with a new story from r/surviving infidelity. In our story, we'll see this man is preparing for divorce his wife because he luckily found her secret life on Instagram. Let's dive in and see how this saga ends. I met my ex 4 years ago on a sailing trip. We hit it off immediately. She told me she was still living with her ex, but already broken up and living on separate rooms because of the kids and financial constraints. I believed her. We fell in love madly, and I was super supportive of the fact that we had to take it slow because of the kids. I kept my flat, and she stayed with the kids. About 2 years ago, she called me and told me she was finally ready to move in with me. I was so happy. I told her I was ready to be a stepdad for her kids and support them. She also works and makes a decent salary. We have the same career, but I made a little more because of my working hours and overtime and night shifts. We found a flat where we could all leave that was close to here so we could cooperate and close to the kids' school. As soon as we moved in, it all went to worst. Her ex was very manipulative and made it super difficult for us to have the kids. And the smaller one somehow resented her for leaving dad. She was extremely depressed most of the time. I tried my very best to be supportive. She was barely making it financially. Since the kids spent more than half the time with their dad, she had to send him money every month. I paid most of the rent, furnished the whole flat, took care of groceries, and took over the monthly rate of a car we bought so the kids could be ferried around. I woke up every day early to make them breakfast. I packed their lunch, went to work, came back, bought groceries, cooked dinner, made sure the older one did homework. I was a trooper, never once complained, never made her feel guilty. Her depression spiraled out of control. I started talking to her about breaking up if she wasn't happy. I told her I loved her and was in for the long haul. I was ready to propose and have a baby of our own. But if she felt the guilt for breaking her family was too much and wasn't happy, I was ready to let her go and still help her financially for a while until she could get her things together. She always said no, she loved me. I started looking at flats back home to buy a little rental property for us to have a little side income. I opened saving accounts for the kids. I treated them like they were my own. I always tried to encourage her to go out with friends and take little weekend trips with her girls, going as far as paying for her plane tickets on a few occasions. I always sent her about 70% of the rent money the last week of the months, since the rent was pulled from her account. On the 6th of May, I receive an email from the landlord telling me we are 2 months late on rent, owing just under 6,000 euros, and letting me know that if we don't cover this in the next 24 hours, they would kick us out. I confronted her, and she tells me she didn't know the rent didn't go from her account, and that she didn't have 6,000 euros. I had to work a miracle to be able to get 6,000 euros cash in 24, since most of my money is on stock, crypto or indexes. I borrowed the cash from a family member, since the investments I could sell would take a few days to reach my account. And I didn't want to have to offer the landlord stupid excuses. She had planned that weekend away with her stupid GFs to some party. I told her I was super disappointed on her, but that she should go anyways. I always thought it was important for her to have fun so she could get better. I stayed at home with her older kid. The younger one was with his dad. Her mom is quite sick and lives on a city 600 kilometers away, so she called me on Saturday to see how her daughter was and told me she wasn't feeling so well. I told her to sleep and relax, and that the next day I'd wake up super early, drive over, pick her up, and that she should stay with us for as long as she needs, until she feels she has regained her autonomy. At 5 a.m., I get on the car and drove to Berlin to pick her up, making sure the 13-year-old had breakfast ready when he wakes up. I make it to Berlin, and on the way back with her mother on the car, I stop around halfway to put gas, and I'm checking Instagram, and I see my stupid GF making out with some guy on an Instagram story. I took and screenshot and sent it to her. She calls me crying, telling me she was drunk, and that it didn't mean anything. I have never been so heartbroken. I barely could drive home, and when I arrived, my best friend and his fiancée were already waiting for me. I packed a bag and left the flat. Haven't been there since. My best friend lives on a neighboring country, and I decided I'll move here and start over. I need to get all my paperwork sorted before I can start working. I currently live in one of the most expensive cities on the world, and stuck paying for her rent in Munich, since I don't want to leave the kids on the street. I'm broke, heartbroken, feel old, unlovable, angry. I have had some dates and sleep with some women, but the pain is just too much. I'm a 40-year-old guy whose world got ripped apart by some crazy woman, and I just don't know what to do with myself. Edited to add, she didn't post it on Instagram. She was so unlucky that the actual official Instagram account from the festival posted. I just happened to see it. I took and screenshot immediately. Although I understand he is angry at her, he really isn't a nice person and wasn't during the relationship. He abused her psychologically. Her mother wasn't even allowed in the house to visit her grandkids because he hated her so much. I am not excusing her behavior, but the story between them is really messed up. My good friend is supposed to go today or tomorrow into my flat to pick up some of my clothes and important documents I need. I'm curious as what will happen. He hates her guts. Bro, tell her to use that rent money she's been blowing through to figure her stuff out. Sounds like she was two-timing her ex while she was living there, would explain his anger and control with the children. Stop paying for anything of hers. Fortunately, the kids will see her for what she is. You got this. Never look back. Good luck, my friend. Please just leave. Crazy is crazy. Who knows why? She has shown who she is. Please believe her. It's just time to move on. Be thankful you are not married. There is an old saying, don't throw good money after bad, because you will only lose more. Some people are not just wired for a real meaningful commitment. They would rather chase an illusion and cheap thrills. Being a teenager can be fun and games with no regrets. Being an adult with children is no easy. Please take care of yourself first. My husband and I have been married for almost 20 years. We have many wonderful children, a nice house, and both work hard to provide for our family and keep our household functioning smoothly. About 10 years ago, because of my growing suspicions, I looked through my husband's phone and found text messages to a female friend. She was going through a divorce, and he was always checking in on her. He was asking how he could help her and talking about her frequently at home. I told him it was inappropriate, and I felt uncomfortable with him continuing the friendship. I didn't expect him to stop all contact, because they are also co-workers, but he took it upon himself to, swearing it was over, coming home from work and proclaiming he has no friends there, never mentioning her name again. He really went overboard. Flash forward, and you probably already guessed it. They have been secretly watering their friendship garden ever since. They text all day, every day. He quickly and kindly responds to every text. He seems eager to do favors she asks of him. There has been nothing physical in their texts. He even talks about me and our children. But he also asks her how she is doing in every aspect of her life and vice versa. And he deletes thousands of texts. She is remarried with children as well. She talks about them too, although does throw in digs at her husband. She seems to rely on my husband for a lot of emotional support like medical issues, family, work stress. She also does favors for him. For example, on many occasions when our vehicles were at the mechanic, she picked him up and drove him to work. He lied to me every time, saying it was another male coworker who was driving him. He told me early on in our relationship that males and females cannot be friends. I went above and beyond to respect him on that. Apparently, he went above and beyond to hide his female friendships from me. He now says it's because he knows his own intentions. I still think it's hypocritical. More information for those who want to read it. I worked out of the house for 18 years. We rearranged our work schedules, so one of us was always home with the kids, so we weren't home together much during the day. I started and still do work from home during COVID, and it was during the past 2 years that I realized how overly protective he was of his phone, always having it on him, bringing it into the bathroom, sleeping with it in his pocket. The few instances I needed it for legitimate reasons, he'd get panicky and hover around. I called him out on his overprotectiveness, which made him more defensive. Recently, our daughter was using his phone, and his coworker texted asking him to call her. It was work-related, but when I asked about it, he started gaslighting me. So, I looked at his phone usage and saw there were 35 to 50 texts daily, initiated by them both. Majority deleted. Text examples are her telling him what time her doctor's appointment is, him later asking how her appointment went, her detailing him in on everything, and checking to make sure she arrived safely on vacation, her doing the same, wishing each other happy birthday. discussing everyday matters, work schedule, work banter, asking for favors. I called him out on it. He says he's an idiot and doesn't know why he did it or hid it. Hems and haws, not saying much of anything. Says there's nothing nefarious going on. Says she's just a friend. Says she's like a sister. Says sorry. Cries. Says he's not attracted to her because she's fat. Says he will cut off all contact with her. Says he wants to start over with me. My husband is a hard worker, good provider, takes care of maintenance around the house, yard work, grocery shopping, cooking, pays the bills, affectionate towards me, involved with our children. He is also a pathological liar. He lies about everything no matter how inconsequential it is. But my detective skills also uncovered some bigger issues, like a vaping addiction, and that he opened up 2 credit cards in my name, all of which I may post about separately. It's a lot of information for one post, and a lot for me to process through my feelings, because they are separate offenses. The one thing they have in common is that he lied about them, before, during, and after being caught. He explains now that he is ashamed of it all, and it wasn't something he wanted to admit to. Right now, my biggest concern is the decade-long secret friendship with his female coworker. More information and update. I am overwhelmed by all of the comments and thankful for your support, even if it's the hard truth. I really appreciate how defensive most of you are of me. I have read every single comment, but also wanted to add more information and share an update. When I confronted my husband about everything, I said our marriage was over. Of course, he acted devastated, cried and begged me to reconsider. I did agree to marriage counseling, knowing it is the only way that we can possibly salvage our marriage, but left it up to him on who we see and when we see them, because that will show me how serious he is taking this. That is why I was looking for advice on if a marriage can actually survive this, because I can't imagine forgiving and forgetting. I am aware that he will likely lie his way though it, and in that case, I will follow through with a divorce. I will be disclosing everything to the therapist. My husband voluntarily went no contact immediately. Although they work for the same company, only one shift overlaps, and they can avoid each other if wanted. He was using work as an excuse to contact her. I told him all communication from her has to be shared with me, and I would be verifying his phone usage. I asked him to text her, but left it up to him on when and what to text. Again, because that will show me how serious he is taking this. It took him 2 weeks. During that time, she texted him, asking if he was mad at her because he hadn't checked in. He finally sent her a text saying, he had betrayed my trust by continuing to have a relationship with her and lying to me about it, and would not be in contact with her again. Her response was lengthy, but I will sum it up. She was unaware that their friendship was kept secret from me. She believes trust is the foundation of a relationship. Her husband was aware of all communications and favors. She told him that she was no contacting him, and then addressed the rest of her texts to me. She validated me, told me I'm beautiful and didn't deserve to be lied to, said she would forward all of the texts because she doesn't delete anything, said she hurts for me and is sorry. I know what I have to do. The reality is setting in and it's making me sick, mostly because I know what it will do to my children. They don't deserve the devastation of a divorce, but I appreciate the perspective of those of you who are the children, or have children, or know children of friends who are affected by a similar situation. I don't want my children to feel guilty for me sacrificing my happiness for them. Edited to add, my husband has been crying every day, but my emotions haven't been accounted for, and you just made me realize that by asking. I have been cycling between depressed and indifferent. When I think about trying to make the marriage work, that's when I am depressed, because I overanalyze every single thing he's done to disrespect me. When I think about moving on from the marriage, I am indifferent. I couldn't agree more about my husband needing a serious wake-up call. When I confronted him about everything, I said our marriage was over. His devastated reaction suggested that he woke up. But taking it further with a divorce attorney is a smart decision for many reasons. I explained that we are both reasonable adults and should be able to design our relationship in a way we think is best for our children, even if that means divorcing, but continuing to live together as long as we can be kind to one another. He says he will spend the rest of his life trying to make it up to me. Our children are my priority, and not to come off as a martyr, but I'm willing to sacrifice my love life until they are older. Although, of course, it is ideal for children to grow up in a two-parent household, where the parents genuinely love and respect each other. So I did agree to marriage counseling, even though there is a chance he will lie his way though it and waste all of our time. At least, I can say I tried. And I must add, because again you are right, before I confronted him, I did some digging and found other issues that he'd been hiding. Lying about vaping, credit cards. I still believe there is more, because what are the chances that my detective skills have uncovered everything? I am done playing detective, but maybe counseling will help to uncover the rest. Same with the lying. He insists he wants to work on this. I am supportive of that, and told him he will not be held to a timeline on bettering himself, but there needs to be active progress. Luckily, I have a career that can support myself and children, but would have to go back into the office and work full-time or part-time from home. It's not ideal, but just something that I'll have to do. Thank you for your thoughts and help. I would be more concerned about the 2 credit cards in your name and addiction. I have the feeling there might be a lot more of those types of lies out there. Keep digging, maybe spend a couple $100s, and hire a private investigator to really find all the info. The friendship with this woman is insulting and a huge betrayal, but not going to impact your credit rating. If the future making it more difficult for you to move on, focus on separating civility. I don't see a pathway to reconciliation without you having to just turn a blind eye to what he has done. Don't reconcile with him.